Give me what you've got. I'm getting out. But in order to get the seat handle, he's got to let go of the stick, get the handle, and get out. Okay, welcome back to Fast Jet Performance then. My name is Tim Davies, and today we're going to look at the Frecce Tricolori's accident in Turin-Caselle Airport on Saturday. And I will just say that this is one of the most upsetting incidents I've ever seen in aviation today. Yeah, what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to have a look through it. We're not going to keep you too long. We'll go through the actual flight tape itself, and then we'll do a little bit of analysis, and then we'll just leave it at that and just get out of this one, because I feel so sorry for the pilot of this, and I feel so sorry for the family. There must be some good that comes out of this. I will tell you how the RAF mitigates against this. It is a little bit different, and really, because it was a civilian airfield, they were flying out of Turin, which is an airport in effect. I don't think the mitigation the Air Force puts in place in my country, which is the United Kingdom, would really work out there in this particular instance. Okay, and what we're going to see here is the Frecce Tricolori, the Italian Air Force's equivalent of the Red Arrows, getting airborne with 9 aircraft. There's 5 at the front and there's 4 at the back. They're out of an airport called Turin-Caselle in Italy. The airfield elevation is about 300 meters, about 1,000 foot high. That doesn't really matter. The runway is 10,000 feet. That's a super long runway. There's only about 4 to 6 knots of wind. The rough runway 36. And what you're going to see here is an aircraft on the far side of the screen. It's going to lose power. It's going to drop down. There will be an ejection. And then unfortunately, the aircraft is going to impact the ground. What happens is it goes through the end fence. We'll have a look at that film in a minute. Hits a car, and unfortunately the aircraft, there's a fatality. It's a 5-year-old girl is killed and her younger brother is severely injured. The pilot, Oscar Del Do, who is known as Pony 4, he's badly burnt as well apparently in this incident. This is an horrific incident. I don't know how. Honestly, for me, I think every pilot would say the same. I'd rather have Mia died in this than that 5-year-old girl. However, you've got to live with this. We've got to move on. We've got to make sure we understand how we can move forward from this incident. And I must admit, I think everyone would say the same that's been involved in aviation. There was absolutely no way in the world that this pilot could have averted what happened next. And I'm going to explain this to you in a second. Let's watch the film and then we'll come back and have a chat. Okay, I've just around the tape a little bit there. You can see the parachute. You can see obviously the whole ball of flames. That does go through a fence. And we're going to have a look at the airfield now very quickly. So you can see this rail that I'm going to point to here. And you can see that kind of fence line there as well. There's a road. Obviously that road goes around to the left. And we're going to go and find that road now on Google Maps, and we'll have a look then at a helicopter shot, and you'll see where the aircraft has actually exited this, and the road that goes around the end of this runway 36 at Turin-Caselle. Google Maps then, guys. So there's the airfield. They've got airborne at the end there. They've travelled along. They've got airborne, and you can see there's the end of the runway. In effect, there is this tarmacadon area. So if we zoom in here, the aircraft has gone through this fence here into that kind of area. And if we go and zoom in here onto the road, and we move along a little bit, you can see then where that fence I just showed you was. There's the fence there. And you can see this is where the 2 cars came. I believe it was the second car, the grey one, that's been hit by the aircraft. And you can see the road goes around, and you can see there's a fence line that comes out. We've got a helicopter shot now that we just jump into and just have a look at this for a little bit. And just remember, this road goes round to the left. And if I just zoom back out again of this, you can see round to the left there. And it's this area here. I believe it's this kind of area the aircraft has gone through into that kind of roadway. So I'll just mute the audio there. You can see the main aircraft on its side there. The front section's missing. A lot of what you're seeing there, and you'll see this on the airfield in a second, is the die pack, I believe, from the aircraft. Always happens with display aircraft. There you go. That's a die pack there. I believe they use a Vaseline-based die for their aircraft as opposed to the diesel die that the Red Arrows use. But you can see it's off the edge of the runway there. and you'll see that's because he had a left wing down, probably to move away from the formation. There's the car. Unfortunately, it's hit. Oh, it's just, there's nothing worse for a pilot, unfortunately, than that. Nothing worse, guys. Let's quickly look at the team. This is an exceptionally safe team. Ever since 1988, I believe, at Ramstein, when they had 3 pilots killed, and they had, I think it was 67 people on the ground, they've been a superbly safe team, to be fair. They normally fly as 10, if I remember correctly. I'm not overly knowledgeable on the team. You can see down here, then, that they really haven't had an incident or a fatality in the team since 1988. That, to me, is incredible. I can't even do the maths on it. It's so long ago. What's that, 35 years? Am I doing that correctly? I can't. It's so long ago. Have not. Now, they did lose, I believe it was, the chap's name was Alessio Gersi, who was killed in April 23 this year, April 2023, in a light aircraft accident, and he was Pony 5. This was Pony 4. Oscar Del Do. I'll bring up his picture now very quickly for you. I don't want to capitalize on this. It's just bring up a picture for you and just have a look. There you go. Salt of the earth dude, obviously. Young dude. And unfortunately, he's got to live with this on his mind. But as far as I'm concerned, having flown jets for 20 years, there was nothing that this man could have done to prevent this happening. Absolutely zero this guy could have done. Let's have a look at his jet. Yeah, absolutely horrific, isn't it? And unfortunately, that's the car there, that it's just landing on straight into that car through the fence. Now, the Air Force does have a way of mitigating against this, but again, you wouldn't have it at a civilian airfield. Let's have a look then exactly what's happened there. And before we do, we just jump in. If you look at the red arrows, so we look at the rates of incidence of this since 1988 is one of the interesting things. The red arrows have significantly more when you look at this team here, unfortunately, all the way from 2010. We lost 2 Hawks, one Hawk, sorry, one landed. Michael Ling and Dave Montenegro, and then 2011, that was John Eggin, was fatality. Again, 7 weeks later, Sean Cunningham, fatality. This was Dave Stark and John Bayliss at RF Valley in 2018, fatality. And then this is Greg Roxton, who had a burst strike, took it into an airfield, took it into Liverpool, I believe. So you can see the difference in the teams there, unfortunately. Red Arrows, I always say to people, unfortunately, the Red Arrows are the most dangerous display team in the world at the moment. It just so happens with the amount of fatalities they had. I mean, do the maths on that. But the Frecce Tricolori are really not, and that's really not. So let's have a look at that tape again. Okay, so you got the 5 at the front, the 4 at the back, and very quickly the one on the far left there, you can see start dropping away. There he goes there. And you can see a little bit of a left wing down as well there. Now, you also see the aircraft on the right-hand side, which is his buddy, starting to move away. What would have happened is 4 would have called something like Pony 4 engine failure standby or Pony 4 burst strike standby, and they don't know yet. I've seen it being written up as a burst strike, but there's no conclusive proof. So either way, 5 is just taking a bit of separation there just to have a look at the buddy and just be able to maintain some support if needed. Obviously, the aircraft is going down. It's in a very bad place. And when an aircraft is this vulnerable, they're heavy because they're getting airborne with full fuel. And also, they're not at full power here, guys, because you cannot be in full power when you're in formation because you'll leave aircraft behind. Aircraft will drop back and they cannot catch up. There's no more to catch up. So the lead aircraft will take some power off. And in the 339, it does say select 98% on the climb. It also says travel the flap, the takeoff flap, gear travels, flap travels at about 120 knots, flaps to be up by about 150 knots. So that's probably the speeds we're looking at now, about 150 knots as they're climbing away. It's not much speed, especially when the aircraft is heavy. This guy down here, he's probably not even at the correct glide speed. He probably hasn't reached the correct glide speed. The aircraft is probably on the buffet. It's probably on the stall. We'll just have a look at what that looks like now. And here's a wing then that's stalling. You can see the top surface is what's called boundary layer breakaway in effect. So we're getting a turbulent flow across the top surface. That's a loss of lift there. And what happens is that airflow hits the tailplane. I teach it in my school, and the stick shakes like this. So his aircraft probably is shaking now. And he realizes he's probably, in a world of pain, got to do something about that. And unfortunately, his options are very, very limited at this time. And he would have gone through what's called a takeoff emergencies brief. And in the Hawk that I used to fly, it was up to 90 knots. So I bought for anything, stay on the runway. 90 through to when I rotate and get airborne, I bought for what's called a top line red. So a red hydraulic caption, fire, T6NL. I believe it was start. So I bought for a hide, anything like that. And we'll stay on the ground if we can. But from me rotating, getting airborne up until, where's the Hawk? Up until the point, getting airborne, up until the point where my gear is traveling, I could probably land back on, but he wouldn't have had the option because his gear's up. So from when he's got airborne up until, for me, it was 250 knots. For him, I don't know what speed he's looking to do, some kind of turning maneuver there to try and land back on the runway. He's probably committed. He has no options. The only thing he can do, try and get some gliding speed if he can, but he's probably believed that. He's probably put a left wing down out there, maybe just to try and have a look at the runway area, maybe aim for what is, as we saw on that diagram, an open field patch on the runway. And at some point, he's going to have to go, I'm going to get out. Now, when I first spoke about this in my school, I said he had a positive vector. He went, I'm going to pull the nose up, bang, get out. Because you want a positive vector, you want the seat going upwards. I don't necessarily believe that is the case now. I think he saw the cars. I think he saw these cars here. I believe that grey car, I think that's the car that he's hit. I think at some point, he catches the cars inside of his eye and he just says, let's get this jet over those cars if I can. And the jet goes into the storm. There's nothing he could do. Honestly, it doesn't matter what he could do. There's nothing. I can't even look at this incident and work a better way of him doing this. And I flew jets for 20 years. Nose comes up there a little bit. I think he might be looking for an ejection now. Nose down. Now he just back sticks it. Give me what you've got. I'm getting out. And you can see as soon as the seat goes, people are saying, oh, the seat forced the jet down. It didn't force the jet to do anything really. There is an equal opposite reaction, but nothing like that. He's holding the stick back. But in order to get the seat handle is behind the stick. He's got to let go of the stick, get the handle and get out. And I think that's what's caused that nose down attitude there. Jet's full of fuel. You can see, interestingly, you can see the parachute deploying there. The seat on our aircraft did have a little parachute itself, and I didn't realize on these aircraft it doesn't. You see the seat tumbling away. That is a low-level ejection. Try and get wings level. Positive vector, bang, out. They think that jet's gone around and collected that car, and it's horrible. Let me just talk about how you can mitigate against this, guys. How you can mitigate against this in a military factor, but you probably can't do it in a civilian world. Remember, this is the runway then, here, the end of the runway. The aircraft's gone across that bit we saw there, didn't we? So the cars have gone around here. Just remember this road then, guys. Remember this road. Let me show you RF Valley. Okay, so here's RF Valley then. I flew from here for about 10 years. And if we zoom into the airfield here, you can see my office was in that building there. In fact, it was that room there. It was that bit there for about, I don't know how long I flew jets from. Hawk T1 to Hawk T2. Now, you've got two runways here pretty much. You've got the main runway, which is 3113, and you've got this runway here, 1901. And the thing about the end of runway 01, so this runway here, pretty much in northerly direction, is people will come across this bridge. These are public roads. They drive around here, and you can see a car on that road now. The other road is like a taxiway, but this road here is a normal civilian road that goes around the outside here. Lots of spotters sit in that car park, and on the end of this runway here for 01, there is a barrier. That barrier pulls out, I believe, to about, we used 50 knots, less than 50 knots to go into it, because it would pull out into a fence, and then of course you could cross a road. So what they did is they put some traffic lights on them, and I don't know where I can find them, but there were lights on the road, and those lights stopped traffic from going around these bits of the road. They just sort of flashed red, and you just sort of stopped for a bit, and then once the flying has stopped, you could then carry on. This is a military base. The base that they flew from, Turin Kassel, was not a military base at all, and that's obviously nothing in place there. Look, this is an horrific incident, and I don't want to labor it anymore, guys. So to be honest, I hope you got something out of that. If you did, there's another video I'll put up at the end of this one about two videos about premeditated ejection, and this one was not premeditated. This one was like, I'm going down, get out of this thing, bang, I'm out. Okay, I think the guy just did absolutely solid work. And the other video is about engine failures after takeoff, and I use a flight sim like the one I teach on to talk about that. I'll try and put both those videos up if I can, or I'll put a link up here now, up there somewhere. I appreciate any comments you have on this, guys, but let's be respectful. All right, there's a family without a 5-year-old daughter. Most horrific thing when I thought about it. Oh, dude, I was cut up by that. But if anyone does have an issue with that, I don't think there's anything that I would have done differently than this pilot Oscar did there. You can't. You brief it, you do it. That's what you do. Sorry, guys. Tim gave his fast performance.